You wake up, and something is missing. Not just energy. Not just motivation. Something deeper. The part of you that used to care is gone. You lie in bed longer than you should. You know the world is out there waiting. But it feels like watching it through thick glass. You see the movement. The urgency. The lives being lived. But none of it touches you. There's no hunger. No spark. You're awake, but not really alive. And the strangest thing? You're not in pain. You're not crying. You're not overwhelmed. In fact, you feel nothing at all. Just a weightless, colorless fog that makes everything equally pointless. This is not sadness. Sadness wants to be held. Sadness cries out. Apathy doesn't speak. It watches your life burn down, and doesn't even blink. You still brush your teeth. You still show up. You still say, "I'm fine," when people ask. Because that's easier than explaining the truth, that you're fading, quietly, from the inside out. You used to have goals. You used to make plans. You used to feel something when you listened to music, or looked at someone you loved, or stood under a sky full of stars. Now, it's all flat. All distant. Like the volume of life has been turned down so low you can't hear anything anymore, not even your own heartbeat. People say, you just need to rest. But sleep doesn't help when the soul is tired. People say, find something that excites you. But what if nothing does? What if you've forgotten what it feels like to want? This is apathy. And it's terrifying. Because it doesn't scream. It whispers. It doesn't hurt. It numbs. And worst of all, it makes you stop believing that change is even possible. You don't avoid people because you dislike them. You avoid them because pretending to be okay takes too much effort. Because every smile you fake feels like a lie, and every "how are you" sounds like a test you can't pass. You look around and see others chasing things, love, success, adventure, and something in you shrugs. You used to care. You remember what it was like to dream. To try. To fight. But now you float. You exist. You do what's required, and nothing more. You survive each day not because you want to, but because you don't know what else to do. And maybe that's the worst part. Because when you're angry, at least you want justice. When you're afraid, you want safety. But apathy is a kind of dying while alive. You don't even want to want. And so you become a ghost in your own life. A shell. A shadow. Maybe it started after something broke, a relationship, a career, a dream. Or maybe it didn't start all at once. Maybe it crept in slowly. You missed one workout. Then one conversation. Then one more morning without doing anything that mattered to you. And before you knew it, you were gone. It's easy to call this laziness. It's easy to say, you just need to try harder. But that misses the truth. Apathy is not the absence of effort. It's the absence of meaning. You don't stop moving because you're tired. You stop because you no longer see the point. And meaning, once lost, is not easily replaced. Even the Stoics, who were masters of discipline and endurance, knew this battle well. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor with the weight of a crumbling world on his shoulders, wrote of days when he didn't want to get out of bed. When everything in him said, why bother? But he didn't romanticize those moments. He didn't give in to them. He answered them. He reminded himself, and us, that we were not made for comfort. We were not made to be entertained. We were made to act. To serve something greater than our moods. To rise not because we feel like it, but because it's right. That's what apathy steals, your connection to the deeper why. It erases the thread that once connected your actions to your soul. And yet, here's the quiet hope that remains, even in the darkest hour. The fact that you notice your apathy is proof you haven't given up entirely. The fact that some part of you still sees this emptiness means you're not fully lost. Because the opposite of apathy isn't joy. It isn't passion. It's motion. One act of will. One honest breath. One choice to move forward, even when nothing in you wants to. That's where it starts. Not with fireworks. Not with some grand revelation. But with the small, trembling decision to try again. To speak when silence feels safer. To stand when sitting is easier. To care when it hurts. And so I ask you now, not with judgment, but with compassion. Where did you stop moving? And are you ready to take one step back? We often mistake apathy for emptiness. But it's not emptiness. It's full. full of unexpressed fear, untouched pain, unfinished grief. Apathy is not the absence of emotion. It's the result of too much emotion that was never given space. It's what happens when your inner world floods, and you lock the doors just to keep functioning. You start calling it not caring, but the truth is, you once cared too much. You were hurt, disappointed, burned. And slowly, without noticing, you built a defense. You trained yourself not to expect anything. Because hope felt dangerous. Effort felt wasted. So you said, it doesn't matter. You told yourself, I'm fine. You convinced yourself it's better not to feel. But the soul doesn't work that way. It keeps score. It remembers. It stores the energy of everything you never allowed yourself to fully experience. And eventually, it shuts the gates. Not out of hatred, but out of exhaustion. And here is where the Stoics meet you. People often misunderstand Stoicism. They think it's about suppressing emotions, becoming cold, detached, above the world. But that's not Stoicism. That's numbness. The Stoics didn't preach emotional deadness. They taught clarity. They didn't deny the soul's storms. They taught how to steer through them. Apathy is not Stoicism. It is the breakdown of the inner compass. Seneca once wrote that the soul becomes tired not from effort, but from directionless effort, doing what doesn't align with who you are. That's what breaks you. Not the work itself, but the feeling that none of it has meaning. How many people do you know who go to work every day, speak to their partners, make plans for the future, all while quietly drowning? They look alive. But inside, they're buried under the weight of their own lost convictions. Apathy feeds on this gap between action and meaning. You go through the motions, but the soul knows it's disconnected. It whispers, why are we doing this? And when you don't answer, when you just keep going without reflection, the soul stops showing up. Apathy is the soul going on strike. And yet, you keep hoping it will just go away. That one day you'll wake up with fire in your chest again. That one perfect book or video or quote will light you up. But that's not how it works. Apathy is not cured by stimulation. It's not a hole you fill from the outside. It's a wall you take down from within. You can't fix apathy by chasing intensity. You fix it by restoring alignment. Ask yourself, what part of my life feels false? What part of my day feels dead? Where am I pretending? Where have I stopped telling the truth, to others, to myself? And here comes the hard part, sometimes, apathy is protecting you. Sometimes, you've built your entire identity on something you no longer believe in, a career, a relationship, a goal, and your soul knows it. So it stops cooperating. It withholds energy. Not because it's lazy, but because it's loyal to something deeper. Something real. That's why you can't just snap out of apathy. It's not a glitch. It's a message. It says, I'm not going to keep pretending. And unless you listen, unless you get quiet and honest and painfully clear, it will stay. Because your soul would rather shut down than be false. Marcus Aurelius faced this too. His empire was crumbling. His health was failing. He was surrounded by betrayal and war. And yet, in the midst of that chaos, he wrote to himself not about politics, but about the soul. He reminded himself, every morning, of what mattered. That he could still control his character. That he could still meet the day with dignity. That he could still choose to act rightly, even if no one saw it. He didn't wait for passion. He returned to purpose. That is the Stoic way out of apathy. Not through excitement. Through responsibility. You don't need to feel inspired to begin again. You just need to be honest. And then, to move. One small action, grounded in truth. You start with one clear act of alignment. You clean your room. You call someone you've been avoiding. You go for a walk without your phone. You sit in silence and ask, what do I know I must do, even if I feel nothing? And then you do it. Not because you want to. Because you must. This is how you begin to earn back the trust of your soul. Apathy doesn't lift because you want it to. It lifts because you become someone it can no longer live with. Someone clear. Someone courageous. Someone honest enough to act without feelings, and patient enough to wait for them to return. You may not know what you love right now. That's okay. You may not feel joy, or desire, or hope. That's okay. Start with what you do know. That you don't want to stay here. That you want your soul back. That there is more to you than this fog. That's enough. You don't need fireworks. You need a decision. The most dangerous thing about apathy is how logical it can seem. It whispers reasonable-sounding lies. That resting is safer than trying. That caring is naive. That passion is for the young, and hope is for fools. And after a while, you start to believe it. You say things like, "I'm just tired." Or, "Maybe this is just who I am now." You speak as if you've reached some kind of mature resignation, but deep down, you know the truth. You didn't arrive here by wisdom. You arrived here by retreat. Because caring hurt. Because you tried and failed. Because someone you trusted let you down. Because life demanded too much and gave back too little. And somewhere along the line, you made a quiet vow, not out loud, but in the very bones of your being, "I won't go through that again." So now you drift. You rationalize. You wear a mask of neutrality. But it's not peace. It's paralysis. And the soul knows the difference. Apathy is not a sign of weakness. It is a scar. The mark left behind when someone once fought too hard for something, and lost. And in that loss, they learn to stop reaching. Because reaching is risky. Because disappointment is humiliating. Because there is nothing more terrifying than trying again. The Stoics knew this fear. But they never let it define them. Seneca said that suffering is not the enemy, fearing suffering is. The person who fears pain will eventually fear life itself. And when you fear life, you begin to step away from it. That's apathy. It's fear, frozen. A quiet refusal to engage with anything that might demand something real from you. We think apathy protects us. That by expecting nothing, we will never be disappointed. But it doesn't protect you, it starves you. It creates a world so small, so safe, so controlled, that nothing can grow there. Not beauty. Not truth. Not love. And certainly not meaning. The human spirit is not designed to be numb. We are not machines. We are creatures of desire. Of longing. Of tension and striving. And when that part of us is shut down, when we silence our hunger to avoid pain, we pay a price. We lose vitality. We lose the ache that once made life feel worth it. You don't need to be happy all the time. You don't even need to feel good. But you do need to feel alive. And apathy kills that. Quietly. Systematically. Without drama. Like a slow leak in the hull of your ship, it lets the water in, until one day, you can't remember what it felt like to sail. Some people spend years like this. Decades. Entire lifetimes. They don't hate life. They just stop participating in it. They do what's expected. They stay safe. They smile for photos and check their messages and go to the gym and pay their bills. But they are no longer there. And here's the worst part, the world rewards them for it. Because when you're numb, you don't cause trouble. You don't ask questions. You don't challenge the system. You become efficient, predictable, manageable. But at what cost? You betray the deepest parts of yourself. And it shows up in strange ways. You laugh, but it doesn't feel real. You make plans, but secretly hope they get cancelled. You finish your work, but it feels like you're building a life you don't want to live. You're not broken. You're just not where you're meant to be. This is the silent epidemic of modern life. Not stress. Not sadness. But soul-deep disengagement. And no amount of entertainment, distraction, or success can fix it, because the real wound is existential. It's not about what's happening around you. It's about what's happening within you. You've stopped believing that your actions matter. You've stopped believing that your voice counts. You've stopped believing that there's something in this world, or in yourself, worth fighting for. But here's what the Stoics would say, meaning is not something you find. It's something you create. It's not waiting for you out there. It's waiting for you to choose it. That means, you don't need to feel inspired. You need to act according to your values, even when it feels hollow. Especially when it feels hollow. Because your feelings are not always the truth. They are weather. And weather passes. What remains is your character. Your choices. Your response to the void. Apathy says, nothing matters. But the Stoic says, then I will decide what does. That's power. That's freedom. And it's the only way out. You can't think your way out of apathy. You can't wait for passion to return on its own. You must act your way into meaning. You must start where you are. And move. Even if you're still afraid. Even if your chest is full of fog and your heart is heavy and your mind whispers, why bother? You move anyway. That's how you reclaim your life. Not all at once. Not with a bang. But with one small act of courage. Then another. Then another. And slowly, the fog begins to lift. Not because the world has changed. But because you have. Apathy cannot be defeated by feelings. It can only be defeated by action. You will not wait your way out. You will not think your way out. You will not be rescued by motivation, or by luck, or by some sudden explosion of clarity. That's not how apathy ends. It ends the moment you choose to act, even when you don't feel like it. Especially then. The Stoics never promised a life of constant inspiration. They never taught that joy would come first. They taught that joy comes after duty. That peace follows motion. That you must first become the kind of person who deserves meaning, through discipline, through clarity, through action. You don't become alive again by chasing emotions. You become alive again by earning back your vitality through the strength of your choices. You don't wait to feel like getting up, you get up because that is what a rational being does. You don't wait to care, you do what's right until care returns. That's the heart of Stoicism. The world doesn't give you meaning. You create it by how you live. So what does this look like, practically? It looks like routine. Structure. Honesty. Returning to what matters, without needing it to feel good. It means waking up and asking not, what do I want, but, what is my task? It means showing up to your duties, even when the heart feels hollow, because the alternative is to let apathy consume you piece by piece. It means telling the truth, I feel nothing today. But I will still act with virtue. It means remembering what Epictetus said, that you control only your will, your judgments, your choices, and that's enough. That is where your power begins. When your inner world is dark, chaotic, or silent, your job is not to escape it. Your job is to stand in the center of that silence, and build a fire with your own hands. A small one. But real. That fire is built with the discipline of action. Make your bed. Write the words. Go for the walk. Call your mother. Cook the food. Do the work. Speak kindly. Reject the lie that nothing matters. And if you fail, if you fall back into numbness, start again. And again. And again. That is the Stoic path. Not perfection. Persistence. You are not your mood. You are not your fog. You are the one who decides what to do, regardless of the weather inside your mind. And here's what happens, slowly, quietly, miraculously. The soul starts to notice. It sees that you're showing up, even without reward. It sees that you're acting with dignity, even when no one's watching. It sees that you haven't given up on it. And little by little, it returns. You begin to feel small moments of connection again. A breath of presence. A flicker of real laughter. The strange warmth of a sunrise you didn't expect to notice. The calm of doing what's right, even when no one applauds you for it. Not because the fog is gone, but because you have changed your relationship to it. You are no longer waiting. You are building. You are no longer asking for clarity to come from the outside. You are lighting your own way from within. And slowly, step by step, you come back to life. Not the life of excitement, or endless pleasure, or loud emotion. But the quiet, noble, grounded life of someone who has earned their peace. Who has walked through the desert and chosen to plant seeds anyway. This is how the Stoic overcomes apathy. Not by suppressing emotion. Not by faking positivity. But by anchoring their soul to what does not change, reason, virtue, will. By remembering, as Marcus Aurelius did, that even in the most broken empire, a man can still rule his own mind. That even in the silence of emotion, a person can live nobly. You don't need your fire back all at once. You just need a single spark, and the discipline to protect it. You don't need to be full of joy. You just need to live in a way that invites joy back in, when it's ready. And even if it never returns, you will know that you lived with strength. That you did not surrender to the weight. That you walked forward with honor when everything inside you wanted to stop. That's the quiet heroism of the Stoic. Not to feel powerful, but to choose powerfully. Not to escape the void, but to build meaning inside it. So if you feel lost right now, if you feel disconnected, numb, broken, remember this. You are still here. And that means there is still something in you that has not given up. Don't wait for the light to return. Be the one who lights the flame. And keep walking.